Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to AZMR. I'm going to start by acknowledging that this show was created on the stolen lands of the Jagera and Turrbal peoples. I pay respects to their elders past and present and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ever ceded. Sovereignty never ceded. Good evening and welcome to AZMR on Zed Digital, Zed Digital, Zed Digital, Zed Digital. Tonight's episode number 15, 4. Core blimey, what an episode we have lined up for you tonight. Wow. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Polly. And I'm going to take you through the next 2 hours of ASMR and low sensory radio content. And we're hopefully going to have a cute time and help you get off to sleep. Yeah, let's try to do that. Yeah, I reckon. If you want to catch up on some past episodes, you can head to the 4ZZZ on demand service for zzz.org.au/program/AZZZMR. Don't know why I said it like that, but okay. And you can catch the last 6 episodes on demand. And if you want to check out any older episodes, they will be on YouTube. Just search AZZZMR and you should find them. And yeah, they are on YouTube with some pictures, which is just like, some trees blowing in the breeze, and there was one that was my cat's drinking fountain for 2 hours. So, stuff like that. And yeah, that's a pretty cute time. We're also on social media. Social media. AZZZMR.4ZZZ on Facebook and Instagram. It's just non-stop pictures of my cat, everybody. Just pictures of my cat, Coco, who sometimes makes an appearance in episodes. And yeah, she's pretty cute. Nice little girl. Lots of talking. And sometimes I'm like, Coco, mate, I'm trying to record something. Can you, not? But she can't not. She just can't not. So, yeah, episode 15. If you tuned in last week to episode 14, that was something a bit different. Actually, I've been doing sort of a weird, different thing every week. A few weeks ago, I had a tutorial of how to fix an ignition coil on your car, which I recorded while fixing my ignition coil on my car. And I really enjoyed the distant dog wolfing and bird tweeting noises. So last week I had a very big week and left everything to the last minute and needed to record in the afternoon, which is unusual. It's unusual for me. Normally I record in the middle of the night or sometimes in the early morning, but mostly in the middle of the night, because that's just the best time to be recording. And you can kind of get into the, I also need to sleep vibe. But last week I left everything to the last minute, so I was like, I'm just gonna go sit in a park and do this because I can't function. So I went to a bush reserve and sat in the middle of some trees. And you get a lot of background bird tweeting and the odd plane flying over because I didn't realise that area was a flight path. It's a bit cute with the birds tweeting, but I don't know if that was terribly relaxing episode because I did talk about my opinions a lot for like the first 20 minutes. So anyway, if you want to hear my opinions, you can head to episode 14. But if you just want to go to sleep, this is probably the right place, I think. I don't think anything is terribly interesting tonight. So I'm going to talk about what's coming up on tonight's show. On tonight's show, episode number 15. We're going to start, I think, by reading out a pamphlet I got from the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre in Barcaldine, in the middle of Queensland. I've been talking about my dinosaur journey the past couple of episodes. If you want to hear more about the Australian Dinosaur Trail, Australian Dinosaur Capital, last week and the week before has some cool facts and me rambling about this trip we went on a couple of years ago. But on the way back, stopped through Barcaldine, stopped at the Tree of Knowledge and also the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre. So, gonna read through this pamphlet that just sort of tells you, it's kind of a map, tells you all the places in the centre. Yep, fun. Also going to read some more poems that I wrote when I was like 16ish, so that should be a cute time. And I've got these like playing cards that were a gift someone sent into the radio station for me. They're Pharaonic playing cards, as in pharaohs, and each card has a different place or object on it. So we're going to read through all of these cards, and then in true Pharaonic, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, fashion, I'm going to try to build a pyramid out of the cards. See what I did there? So it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be just fine. Also, we will be reading a little bit from the Moreton Bay Courier. It's the old Courier Mail, but a long time ago. And it was called the Moreton Bay Courier. We're going to read a little bit from that. So hopefully just a very boring and snooze-worthy time for you this evening. Not with opinions in here at all. No opinions. That's impossible. I'm still going to have opinions about things. I'm just generally an opinions lady. So, we're also going to finish the show with some gentle piano. As usual, some gentle piano just to help you drift off to sleep. So, let's get stuck into it now. Stuck into episode number 15. Episode number 15 of AZMR on Zed Digital. Zed Digital. So we have here, welcome to the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre. So this is just an A4 piece of paper with a map on one side, and it's numbered, and all the places that you can go and what kinds of exhibits are in each of these places. So I actually think this is just it's the way the columns are set up. It looks like it was supposed to be folded in that like kind of vertical threefold brochure situation, but no one did. And then when I got it, I've just folded it in half. So that's how you fold a brochure. So we're going to read through that a bit. Now, for those who don't know, Barcaldine was the location of the centre of where the Great Shearers' Strike happened in about 1890, I think 1891, early 1890s, late 19th century. The shearers' strike happened, and why that happened was because the Queensland wool industry was like very, very booming, like very successful, one of the biggest in the world, I think. And the pastoralists, I think they were called. The pastoralists were going to reduce the wages of these shearers. They were getting like £1 per 100 sheep or something ridiculous. I don't know. Not a lot, but also that money was worth a different amount back then. But they wanted to reduce it, so of course there was a strike, and the centre for that strike was Barcaldine, because I think it was at the end of the train line from Rockhampton, and kind of the centre, I guess the centre of that, I don't know, all the wool shearing in the area, in the Australian outback or the Queensland outback. And I don't know, it was just a nice central location. But it was also the, I guess the point where all the shearers from different pastures would come to get their wool sent back to civilization, I guess. And so there was the Great Shearers' Strike, which, is a big Australian event. But what this led to was the formation of the Australian Labor Party, because at the time there was only one political party, and there was no party that represented the workers in Australia. And so they formed that in the Tree of Knowledge was like a meeting place for them, which unfortunately was poisoned in 2006, like quite recently considering. And this is like a big symbol for Australian workers and the Australian Labor Party. So it was kind of formed under this tree. They've made it into like kind of quite a beautiful sculpture thingy. But I probably will talk a bit more about the Tree of Knowledge on a different episode, because there's quite a bit. We're just going to read through this pamphlet tonight. But yeah, there's a little backstory. That's where the Australian Labor Party was formed. And it was because of the shearers' strike. And I think the strike was actually unsuccessful, but did form the Labor Party. And then they got, within a year, a shearer was elected, a Queensland shearer was elected as the first Labor representative, I think, in the whole world, of any government anywhere in the world, which is kind of a big deal. So this is all in the late 19th century, about 1890-ish. And yeah, kind of a big deal, I guess, for, history and such. So we're just going to read through this. That's enough backstory. I am one for a bit of a waffle about the backstory, but we are just going to read through this pamphlet, brochure, thingo, that says, "Welcome to the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre, established 1991. A centre for all Australians. The Australian Workers' Heritage Centre is the custodian of the rich heritage, history and traditions of all working Australians. Our vision is to pay tribute to the lives of these extraordinary people who built our nation and fought fearlessly to defend the freedom that all Australians enjoy. The challenge is to further develop the centre with regular ongoing programs of exhibitions honouring Australian achievements in the arts, science and medicine, and workers from all walks of life who continue to build our nation. In this way, the centre will continue to both preserve the past and provide a vision for the future of this nation. Barcaldine, Queensland. Centre map. Our centre closes at 3 p.m. We would appreciate all visitors returning to the gift shop reception area by 2:55 p.m. Our facilities include retail outlet, undercover barbecue and picnic areas, 5 acres of landscaped gardens, shaded modern children's playground, boar-fed billabong, wheelchair access and disabled facilities. 1. Orientation Centre and Retail Outlet. The Orientation Centre is your point of entry to the Workers' Heritage Centre. It provides an introduction to the centre and its themes and houses our retail outlet. 2. Kanwarara Railway Station and Carriage. The refurbished Kanwarara Railway Station was built in 1915 and relocated here in 1994. Comprises the original station, platform, loading crane and a workers' campervan carriage from that era. The exhibition tells the story of Australian railway workers and passengers. 3. Police Watch House. Honouring the work of police across the country, the Watch House was relocated from Tugulawa and tells the story of the struggles of the constabularies to protect lives and properties in a harsh and hostile environment. 4. Celebration Theatre, the Tent. Originally part of Australia's bicentennial celebrations, the Celebration Theatre houses several exhibits of interest, including a courthouse scene, a recreated isolation cell from St. Helena Prison, a photographic exhibition of the Shearers' War from the strike of 1891, and the Bicentennial Exhibition. 5. The Yungan Tree of Knowledge Offspring. An enduring legacy. Planted on site on May 2nd, 2005, the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre is home of the Yungan, the only authentic direct descendant of the Tree of Knowledge. Direct descendant of the Tree of Knowledge. 6. AWU Shearers Hall. That's Australian Workers' Union Shearers Hall. Australia's oldest union office and hall. The Shearers Hall was generously donated and relocated from Longreach to our site by the Australian Workers' Union. The hall has been refurbished and transformed into a quality exhibition space presenting and interpreting a highly valued and unique chapter of our working history. 7. Labour House. The display comprises a collection of photographic and textual information about the history of labour in politics. A display of cartoons from the newspaper The Worker, 1893 to 1930. The Workers' Wall is a photographic display of labour representatives, state and federal. 8. Australia Post. This comprehensive display depicting an historic post office is dedicated to all postal workers. The display also includes a miniature replica of a Cobb & Co. coach. 9. One Teacher School. The historic One Teacher School from Torrens Creek is typical of rural schools in the early 1900s. The exhibit also houses the Queensland Teachers Union display. 10. The Powerhouse. Power to the nation, thanks to the power workers, from the men and women who built the Snowy Mountains scheme to the story of the husband and wife team who ran this diesel generator, to the scientists working on the power of the future. Really enjoyed the power exhibits. That was good. 11. Exhibition Block B. Queensland Health Ambulance Display. Exhibition with adjoining student Education Room. The latest addition to the landscape at the Centre Working for Health is a comprehensive display exhibition celebrating the outstanding contributions made by our wide-ranging, talented and committed health workers. Other exhibits in Block B include a recreation of Queensland's Legislative Assembly, Public Works and Queensland Electoral Commission displays. 12. Exhibition Block A. The first stage of this major project, Women in Australia's Working History, is the fascinating exhibition A Lot on Her Hands, curated by the Queensland Museum. Celebrating the lives of the working women of Australia, the exhibition reveals the extraordinary stories of some famous and not so famous Australian women through photographs, objects and audio-visual materials. You can also view the moving documentary about Australia's working women, Unsung Heroes. 13. Main Roads. A celebration of the workers who built the vast network of roads throughout our nation, overcoming extreme isolation and connecting our communities. 14. Emergency Services. This section recognises the work of emergency workers. See the fire trucks from earlier times. Learn about the expertise and community spirit shown every day by over 85,000 committed volunteers serving communities right across Queensland, which is a mirror of the dedicated work carried out by volunteer emergency service personnel throughout our nation. 15. Wonparuda Matilda Outback Education Centre. The Workers' Heritage Centre's own unique Outback Education Centre, established in 1997, provides a wonderful residential learning facility for school groups from around Queensland and interstate. Information in regards to this unique education centre can be obtained from our on-site education officer. Thank you for visiting the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre. We do hope that you enjoyed the experience. Become a member. Please consider helping us by becoming an associate member and join us in realising our collective vision. Please ask our staff for further details. Join our mailing list today. Stay informed on upcoming events, new displays, community events, promotions, opening hours, etc. Interested? Please ask our staff for our mailing list form. Australian Workers' Heritage Centre. The Australian Workers' Heritage Centre is a not-for-profit, non-political incorporated entity which holds all assets under deed of grant in trust. The centre does not receive recurrent funding from any level of government, local, state or federal. Our sole source of operational income is derived from admittance fees, our retail outlet, associate membership, sponsorship and donations from our supporters. We are a registered deductible gift recipient organisation and all donations to our centre are tax deductible. Our organisation plays a vital role in preserving an important part of our heritage and culture, contributing to both regional and national tourism, and further provides a significant economic contribution to regional Queensland. So that was the Australian Workers' Heritage Centre pamphlet from Barcaldine in Queensland. So, very interesting. Bit of a cute place to go to. I wouldn't travel all the way to just go to this. But it's worth a stop off if you're heading to the dinosaurs. At least go check out the Tree of Knowledge because it's quite pretty. They've the tree was poisoned and then they built this structure around it and then put all these vertical woody bits in this big square structure so it kind of makes up the void. space of where the tree was. It's hard to explain. But I'll hopefully do a talk about the Tree of Knowledge at some point. Just for fun. Just to talk about some history. Maybe during my series that seems to be going back to this Dino Trip 2020. Is it 2020? 2021? Whatever year we went to the dinosaurs. Whatever year that happened. I can't remember. Oh, the whole pandemic bit was kind of a blur. Okay, so I think I said I would do poems next. Poems, here we go. Here we go. So I did a little bit of a flick through of the next 6 because I seem to be reading these poems that I wrote when I was 15-ish, 15 or 16. I seem to be doing them in groups of 6 because after 6 I get a bit like, oh, that's too much poem. So I flicked through the next 6, and if I were to pick like a top 10 of all my favourite poems at the time, and I think they're still my favourite now because I guess the same reasons they were my favourites, they're the same reasons, but 3 of the top 10 are in this next 6, so that's pretty good, I think. And they might not be my favourite because they were particularly well written, although sometimes. But just because I think that they hold the most memories, or I have particular memories about them, that I was like, yeah, I think that was well done, and or just a part of my childhood, just a part of my childhood. The first that I'm going to read for you today is one of those favourites. From memory, it might be shit, I don't know. I haven't reread it, but it's number 25, number 25, 14th of May, 2004, 2004. This poem is called Forgottens, like with an S on the end, Forgottens, which it sort of makes like the act of being forgotten into a noun, I guess, an object. Which I think is kind of clever, but I'll tell you what this poem's about when I finish reading it, okay? Yes, and then you can go, why'd you take all those words to say that? It's fine. So, Forgottens. I wait all alone as the sky slowly darkens. I smell dewy rain on the grass in the air. Cars come and go and crunch over gravel. I look to the west at the sun's golden glare. Trees bend and sway, leaves whisper and sigh. They swirl in the dust on the side of the road. Near me cries a waterfall over cheeks of rock, and there I see frogs and a great slimy toad. Chills bite at my cheeks and chew at my flesh. The last of the sunlight licks at the treetops. Lantana flowers break away and jump into the wind, dancing round wildly, doing small flips and flops. The sun draws its blanket and creeps into bed. It hides its great eye behind tall mountain lids. A cold breeze blows past, breathing down my neck. It speaks to me softly, to do as it bids. The seconds count on as slowly as hours. Minutes pass on like they're mixed into days. Time ticks on by like the crickets that chirp, who chatter and talk in so many ways. The sky reaches out like a wide rippled lake, where stars blink on down with sparkly eyes. Shadows are sleeping and slinking along, who, like the spiders, weave great webs of lies. Discarded and left in a night dark and gloomy, stranded alone and so far from the light, if I wait any longer I may turn to stone. Unforgiving forgottens will stand in my sight. So, this poem was written after I was left at the bus stop and not picked up. So where I lived on top of a mountain in the middle of the rainforest, and I had to walk 2 kilometers down the mountain to my bus stop. And then it was like I had to catch one of those mini buses to the big bus, and then another bus. It's like a 40-50 minute bus ride to school. But I would get picked up in the afternoon from the bottom of the hill. There was a bunch of us kids that lived up the top of the mountain, so we would get picked up by one of the parents. And I think that there was one of the parents that wasn't that great at remembering when it was their day. Because when I'm talking about, like, it was pretty steep, like it would be gnarly to have to walk up that 2 kilometers every day, which I did a couple of times, but generally we would get picked up. So yeah, there was one of the parents that just wasn't very good at remembering when it was their day, and it was especially bad if their kid wasn't on the bus, because then they just wouldn't. I don't know. Anyway, I just got like left at the bus stop, and I was like, do I start walking? Someone coming for me? Probably on this occasion, I think I probably started just walking home. And yeah, so I think that I think this is particularly clever because I think everything in this has like personification. So there was human qualities, like human quality metaphor or simile to every object, I think, in here. Everything I talk about, like the mountains or the crickets or everything, has some sort of personification to it, and everything is given, like, I guess, human qualities, and I guess the forgottens. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's quite clever, and I still like it. I think it's still in my top 10. And yeah, do like a bit of a metaphor. Anywho, let's move along. Let's move right along. This next one is also one of my favorites in my top 10. Number 26, 20th of May, 2004. This one's called The Happy Apple Tree. The Happy Apple Tree. Now, the reason, I'll tell you after. I'll just read it and then I'll tell you the backstory. In a far and distant home, deep, deep down where strange things roam, a tree there lives so far below, inside your head where strange things grow. His apples red and leaves of green are all of him that can be seen, but take a closer look, you'll see there's something odd about this tree. On the wood, the front and backing, from his trunk there's nothing lacking, but something's there that's out of place. This tree, he has a smiley face. He'll forever be your friend. He'll let you know it's not the end. He's the part inside your head that puts your restless mind to bed. A smile here, a smile there. This tree gives smiles everywhere. He sends bad thoughts to whence they came. The happy apple tree's his name. So when you're feeling down and blue, the apple tree will help you through, and all those happy thoughts you'll find are not so hard to keep in mind. Now this one's kind of cute, and there's been a few that cute ones, but the reason why this one's up there in the favourites, I think this was like the happy apple tree, right, was like a symbol for me for, like, I don't know, making myself and making my friends feel better. And I think it came up a lot. So I think I incorporated this whole poem into like one of my school project visual art pieces, or at least bits of it. And I believe with the friend group, we had like these books. Basically, we'd have like an exercise book that we'd pass around, and we'd all write in it, or like add like cutouts from magazines or quizzes or whatever. We'd draw in it and we'd hand it to the next person, and it would go around the group. And I think that's where I first wrote this, maybe. And it was just to try and make people feel better. And I know that it's like pretty superficial of just like telling people to feel better and they will feel better. But I don't know, I think it became like such a consistent thing that it just sort of worked. Obviously, I was also full of teenage angst and not super happy all the time. And it's, it sort of did, I don't know if it actually helped or if it was just a distraction thing, or you go to but it's don't worry, the happy apple tree. It seems lame now that I'm thinking about it and or talking about it. But yeah, I think it just came up a lot. I have a lot of memories about this happy apple tree theme that was going on in my life. I don't even know. Yeah, I was probably trying to cheer someone up, and then it just became a recurring thing. Anyway, we went okay. Don't worry, everyone. So we'll move along. Number 27. 6th of August, 2004. 2004. This one's called Drop Dead Gorgeous. Which is the name of my friend's business that they established like a long time after this. So I guess I'm just, predicting the future. I don't know. Okay. I'm just going to read it and see. Okay. Drop Dead Gorgeous. It's not actually, you know what? I think that was the name of a movie. That's probably why where we both got inspiration from. But anyway, let's go. It's not my fault that I'm at ease and comfortable with what I've got. It's only because I'm aware that you'll love me no matter what. I may seem something perfect or someone you admire, but I'm nothing gorgeous more than you. I'm not so hot that I'm on fire. I'm not that overconfident. Deep down, I'm still a rat. I still have insecurities. I still feel like I'm fat. I know that I'm a mole. I know I'm not that great. I'm just not full of that cliche like loathing and self-hate. Spoiler, I was. I push bad thoughts right to the back and keep them locked away inside. When chased by fat and ugly me, it's you that helps me hide. The only reason I'm on top is 'cause I listen to your praise. It makes me feel content inside and great in many ways. You can't say that I'm gorgeous and know that you are not. You must believe me 'cause it's true that you are so damn hot. You can't say that I'm gorgeous and not know you are too. There's someone who's more so than me, and that person is you. I hope you listen to my words and know they are no lie. Drop Dead Gorgeous means nothing. Without you, I would die. I think a friend must have called me Drop Dead Gorgeous, and I was like, have you seen you? I don't really remember writing that one. I actually thought when I read, I just skimmed the first couple of lines, and I was like, oh God, is this going to be just me being super up myself? But no, I think someone must have called me some compliment, and I was like, yeah, have you seen you? So that's kind of nice, I guess. That's kind of nice. Okay, I don't really remember much, so I guess we're going to move along to number 28. Number 28. 30th of August, 2004. 30th of August, 2004. This one's just called Please. Christ. Let's see. Maybe it's fine. Please. I know you think you know just what it is you mean to me, but how can you read what's on my mind? How can you really see? I need you to understand just why I've done the things I've done. I never meant to hurt you. You've always been my number one. I never thought it'd end like this, and now there's nothing I can do but hope and pray you'll empathize and see that I love you. Please tell me that it's not too late to dry the tears I made you cry. I wish that Oh, that's a typo. I wish I that could undo. I think it's I wish that I could undo just what it was that made me lie. I don't want you to look at me like I have some disease. With all my heart, I'm begging you. Please, 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 please. Well, I guess I fucked up. I don't know. I have no idea. So I would have been like freshly 16. I was the one that made the drama. Ooh, drama. Okay, the next day, number 29, 30th or 31st of August 2004. This one's called Emotions. Emotions. Okay, so it feels like I might have done something and then this is like the consequences. Emotions. Hurts. Cries. Burns. Blurred eyes. Love you. Tears. Need you. Sick. Fears. Fall. Cold, hard, sore, cry. Falling, melting, hurts inside. Sorry. Lie. Breaking inside, it hurts to cry. Full of guilt, aches with pain. Nothing left to do but promise, try not to do it again. Angry, hate what I have done. Don't know what can make it right. Feel so terrible, try to change. Pain and tears, blurring sight. Feeling better. Hoping, it's okay. Knowing, it is not. Wanting pain to go away. Love you, can't you see? Emotions splitting from my seams. Crazy, hurting, pain. Spilling out of my bad dreams. Sorry everyone, I could not get through that without a giggle. Yeah, there's emotions, that's what it's called. I don't know about like quality poem writing, but you know, if you turn that into a song, it would probably be a banger. But yeah, it feels like, oh look, the consequences of my own actions. By the end it looks like we made up, whomever it was. I don't know which friend this would have been about. What did I do? Yeah, okay. Don't know. I don't really keep a diary. So I have no idea what I did. Sorry everyone, that's not juicy. But just know that I did something. Good. So this is the next day. Which actually, it's nothing to do with that one. So, and probably by the time I do a next poem segment, I will have forgotten about this drama. But number 30 is another one of my favorites. Now this one, I guess is my favorite for a different reason maybe. I don't know. My sister, who I mentioned before, I think, Jazz, who's actually my stepsister. She's 8 months younger than me, but she was in my grade. She was doing her like end of year 10 visual art major project. So she asked me to, so she had a character and she wanted me to write a poem to go with the art piece, and then she included it on the artwork. So that was a bit cute, of like a collaboration. Ooh, collaboration. So I think it ended up into like the local paper. So that's kind of a big deal, right? I don't know. Yeah, I think it did. The Echo, which I don't know if that still exists, but around like Mullumbimby, Byron area, it was the Echo. I think my poem and her art piece made it in there, which is a bit cute. When you're like a kid, you're like, wow, that's such a big deal. And now I'm on the radio every week, twice, so nothing means anything. And everything is on social media. You can publish anything. So nothing means anything, but this was a kind of a big deal. So number 30, 1st of September 2004, 1st September 2004. The character and the name of the poem is Midnight. And midnight, yeah. But I mention dusk and dawn, capital D's, like their names. So each of these are like characters, I guess. I'm not sure if she actually was going to do a dusk and a dawn, but anyway, here we are. Let's just get through it. Midnight. After dusk has closed her eyes, and before dawn has stirred, midnight rises to the skies. She utters not one word. She weaves her wicked wisps of hair, like serpents clinging to the night, their tendrils reaching through the air, and licking up the pools of light. Shadows cast by slits of moons, shining from a jagged knife. Then out of dark and dead cocoons, eerie creatures spring to life. They twist and turn and swirl around. Midnight's wild toys will play, then fall so lifeless to the ground as midnight tucks herself away. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cute poem. I think it's just the memory of this being a collaboration with my sister. She did the painting, I did the poem, and I just really like doing a collab. Yeah, you like a collab? Yeah. And so that's the whole story. And that's all 6 poems for this evening of teenage angst, Polly. That's, yeah, I don't know what else to say about them. There's so many more. We're like not even halfway through. We're maybe like 2 more poem sets away from being halfway through. This is my whole life now, reading poems to you. Yeah, there's so many. But thanks for tuning into AZMR. What have I got? Cool. So next up, we've got some Pharaonic. I don't know how to say it. Hopefully, I think it's Pharaonic. You know what? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to go to the internet and say, like, Google, how do you pronounce this? This is me in real time. Pronunciation. Okay. How to say Pharaonic. Oh no, there's an ad. Let's just cut that. Pharaonic. Really? Where is like? Is that right? Okay, let's try this other one. Pharaonic. Oh, okay. It's Pharaonic, everybody. Pharaonic. Okay. We've done well. So I've got some Pharaonic playing cards. I just don't get Pharaonic from those letters. But that's fine. It is what it is. I'm just gonna, yeah, cool. 52 different Pharaonic places. So this was a gift, this playing card set from a listener of my other program, Kids with Class Kicking Ass, which is Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. till midday, and that's on 102.1 FM for Turrbal Z, which is live and a lot more louder and shenanigans than this one. But and I'm just taking these out of the packet. There we go. tappy tap. So yeah, these were a gift sent in from a listener to the radio station, and yeah, they look a bit fun. They've got different places, as it said, 52 different Pharaonic places. So we're just going to read through what it says on each card. It has a picture, like it'll say what type of card it is, and then it has a picture and the place name. And then we're going to try and make a card pyramid, which I suspect I will be pretty bad at, given that it's my first day. But I think that it will be more interesting orally if I do fail, because there will be theoretically lots of card tumbling noises. So that should be a bit cute. So we're just going to start by reading through each of these cards, and it's going to be a bit cute. So I have already done a card episode where I was shuffling and dealing. But this is different because I'm going to be building a pyramid badly. So it's different, everybody, I swear. So I have here the King of Clubs, Luxor Temple, Statue of Ramses, 2, Statue of Ramses, number 2, the second. 3 of Clubs, different views from Egyptian Museum, Cairo, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. 4 of Diamonds, Sphinx's Avenues at Luxor Temple. Wow, there's a lot of sphinx in this picture. Sphinxes? I don't know. 5 of Clubs, Views from Karnak and Luxor. 6 of Diamonds, Light in the Field of Reeds. It's what looks like a painting or an art piece inside a room. 9 of Spades, the Colossi of Memnon, Ramses II. The Colossi of Memnon. It's a statue. 10 of Diamonds, Scene representing a fig meal. It's a beautiful painting. I like this one. There's birds and trees and stuff. It's a good one. That's a good one. Jack of Clubs. Nope. Spades. Jack of Spades. The Golden Mask of Tutankhamun. Queen of Diamonds, Queen Nefertiti. It looks like a bust sculpture. Thingo. King of Spades, Luxor Temple, Statue of Ramses II. Oh, that's the same of the King of Clubs. Okay, maybe there's some double ups. Maybe it's not 52 different. What did it say? 52 different Pharaonic places. There's at least one that's the double up. Come on now. 4 of Clubs, View of the Nile at Aswan. 4 of Clubs. 5 of Diamonds, Different Views from Aswan. 6 of Spades, Treasures of Tutankhamun. Looks like a chair, fancy chair with some tiger head or leopard head kind of armrest things, and a fancy scene depicted on the back of it. Treasures of Tutankhamun, 6 of spades. Now we have 7 of hearts. 7 of hearts. 7 of hearts. Memphis of Saqqara. Memphis of Saqqara. It looks like another sphinx. Memphis of Saqqara. 8 of diamonds. Montazah Palace, Alexandria. Montazah Palace, Alexandria. 8 of diamonds. 5 of hearts, different views from Aswan. Different views from Aswan. I know we've already had this, but it's different pictures. So, oh, I wonder if that one that was a double up is a different picture of the. Okay, let's see. No, it's the same picture. That one that was a double up was legit a double up. Scandalous. 6 of hearts. Rahotub and his wife, Princess Nefert. Rahotub and his wife, Princess Nefert. That's a sculpture. Panorama from Pyramids, Giza. Panorama from Pyramids, Giza. That's the 6 of clubs. 6 of clubs. 7 of diamonds. 7 of diamonds. Ahmed Attallah round the Sphinx. Ahmed Attallah round the Sphinx. It's a photograph. Some people at the Sphinx and the pyramid. Great Pyramid. 8 of spades. 8 of spades. 8 of spades. The Roman Theatre, Alexandria. The Roman Theatre, Alexandria. 9 of diamonds. Different views from Luxor. Different views from Luxor. 10 of clubs. 10 of clubs. Hunting and the cat. The cat. Hunting and the cat. It's an artwork. Like a wall artwork. It's lots of birds and some cats. Oh, 1 cat and some fish. Hunting and the cat. Jack of diamonds. Oh, I've had this one before. The golden mask of Tutankhamun. Jack of diamonds. The golden mask of Tutankhamun. Oh, I've had this one before. Maybe it's just the royals that are different. I mean, that are the same. Like Tutankhamun is the Jack, and Queen Nefertiti is the Queen, and the king is Ramses II. So I could just got another queen, the Queen of Spades, and it's Queen Nefertiti again. So maybe it's just the royals that are the same. In which case, it's still not 52 different pharaonic places. So, lies. So 8 of hearts. 8 of hearts. Oh, Quita Bay. Quita Bay Fortress. It's a Q, but then there's no U after it, so I don't really know how to deal with this one. Quita Bay Fortress, Alexandria. 9 of hearts. Philae and Abu Simbel Temple. Philae and Abu Simbel Temple. 9 of hearts. 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs. Thebes, the Colossi of Memnon. Thebes, the Colossi of Memnon. That's the 8 of clubs. 8 of clubs. Queen of hearts. Queen of hearts. Well, we're not surprised here that it's Queen Nefertiti. Again, Queen Nefertiti. 4 of spades. 4 of spades. Philae Temple. Philae Temple. Philae Temple. 5 of spades. Abu Simbel. Abu Simbel. Looks like another temple, and it's got 4 statues out the front that are very big, sitting kings, I assume. Sitting kings. Oh, here we are again, the King of Hearts, Luxor Temple, statue of Ramses II. Again, with the and the King of Diamonds, Luxor Temple, statue of Ramses II. So, it's just the royals, I think. 7 of Spades, Sphinx and solar boats. Sphinx and solar boats. Ooh, that's interesting. So there is a picture of the Sphinx in front of the Giza pyramids. And then in another little picture, there's a boat, like a very old boat. And that looks very cool. One of those really long ones with like a really tall, is it prow? I don't know my boat terminology, everyone, I'm sorry. But very classic Egyptian looking boat called a solar boat. Now, the 10 of Spades, Queen Cleopatra, 10 of Spades. Now it's the 10 of Hearts, the goddess Mart and Hathor, Queen of Clubs, Queen Nefertiti, Queen of Clubs. 7 of Clubs, Egyptian Museum of Cairo, 7 of Clubs, Egyptian Museum of Cairo. Jack of Clubs, the Golden Mask of Tutankhamun, no surprises there. 2 of Diamonds, Pyramids of Giza, and then it says Cairo by night, which that looks like the sun. Maybe it's the moon. It's very yellow for the moon. I think this is a modern photo because there's some tall buildings in it, but you can see the very tall pyramids, and it's all lit up by like electricity. So 9 of Clubs, Queen Hatshepsut, Ooh, this one I guess is the equivalent of a joker. It's just a map of Egypt with some stars and a map of Egypt. It shows Cairo, Giza, Saqqara, Alexandria, and Karnak, Luxor, Valley of Kings, Aswan, Kalabsha, Dhaka, Philae, Abu Simbel. I can't read, it's very small writing. Abydos. I can't really read it, but it is a map of Egypt, everybody. Maybe that's the Joker card. 4 of Hearts, View of the River Nile. 3 of Hearts, well, these need shuffling. Pyramids of Giza. It's a couple of happy camels in the foreground and some pyramids in the background. 2 of Hearts, Pyramids of Giza. It's a different photo. Don't worry, everybody. Oh, and here's another map of Egypt. This one's got black stars instead of red stars, but it's the same picture. I'm guessing that's the Joker of this deck. Oh, of course, it's the Jack of Hearts. It's the Golden Mask of Tutankhamun. Now, we haven't had any aces. Ace of Hearts, the facade of the Egyptian Museum. We have the 3 of Spades, Memphis, Saqqara, and Ramses II. 2 of spades. Geyser, sound and light. Geyser, sound and light. The ace of spades. Ace of spades. The Muhammad Ali Museum. Muhammad Ali Museum. 2 of clubs. 2 of clubs. Sphinx. Giza the Great Sphinx. Giza the Great Sphinx. Ace of clubs. Ace of clubs. Cairo Tower. Cairo Tower. I suspect that this is not very pharaonic, given that it was built after the pharaohs. Cairo Tower. I assume it's quite a very tall structure. Maybe they've just, and it's got glass. Looks like it's partially made of glass and metal. Unless they've done it up, I don't know much about the Cairo Tower, but feels not super pharaonic. 3 of diamonds. Step Pyramid of Zoser. Step Pyramid of Zoser in Saqqara. And the Ace of Diamonds. Ace of Diamonds. The Nile from 6th of October Bridge. The Nile from 6th of October Bridge. 6th of October is the bridge is called 6th of October Bridge, I guess. That's a pretty fun name for a bridge. It's also my dad's birthday, everybody. So, now we're going to try and build a pyramid out of these cards. And I'm going to level with you. I'm probably going to do a terrible job. But hopefully it will be orally interesting. Cards are kind of smooth and shiny, so I don't know. Kind of new. Maybe that would be worse. Maybe I need ratty older cards. Okay, oh, I was about to be like 1, but then it fell over. 1. Okay, I have 2 triangles with a card on top. Things are going well, everybody. Okay, so once you get the first couple in there, they sort of help each other stand up. So hopefully we're not going to have a big tumble. Okay, it's going well, everybody. Okay, I have 5 little, I don't know, little triangle bits along the bottom. 5 sort of stacks of cards. So we're going to go upwards now. Let's just see how this goes. I'm sure terribly. I'm sure terribly. Okay, not well, everybody. I'm very good at making them fall over, everybody. Okay, let's try again. The issue I'm fine. So the base layer is fine, but then when you get to doing the next layer, it's just a bit slippery. Like it's not as easy for them to just stay up as it is along the base layer. So I'm starting to suspect that listening to me fail at building a pyramid is not very orally stimulating. So I think that we are going to give up. We are going to give up. We tried. We tried. Now we're just back to shuffling, really. So, yeah, look, we tried. I think that what I failed to grasp ahead of trying this was that the sounds of trying to build a card pyramid actually not a lot going on there. So, we gave it a red hot go, and we all learned something along the way. And that is that I cannot build a card pyramid beyond the first layer, and that it's not very orally stimulating. But that's fine. We still got to read all the interesting card places and have a generally cute time with these Pharaonic cards. We also learnt how to pronounce the word Pharaonic, which, yeah, I just don't really get that from those letters, but who am I to say how they should be pronounced? Now I'm going to turn some of these cards over because they're all facing higgledy-piggledy directions now because I stacked them. Okay, they are all facing the same direction again. These are pretty cute cards. I'm actually not mad at these at all, even though that I couldn't build a pyramid. They're pretty cute cards. I'm also not even terribly mad that all the royals were the same cards. I am a little bit mad that it says very specifically 52 different Pharaonic places on the packet. A little bit mad about that, but it's fine. is what it is. There's a little love heart shaped hole cut out of the box, which is pretty cute. Just put them back in the box. There we are. And now, yes, cute, very cute. So next up, I'm going to be reading from the Moreton Bay Courier. This issue is Saturday, November 21, 1846. Now, the Moreton Bay Courier used to be, or is what's now known as the Courier Mail. I think it had another name change in the middle there. But, yeah, way back, had a different name. And sometimes just been reading old articles and things. I think last time we did this, it was all the classifieds. So, yeah, this is articles. Well, I think I'm starting off with what looks to be a letter from a reader, which I usually enjoy because people have feelings. So, let's just jump right in. Original correspondence. The editor wishes it to be distinctly understood that he does not hold himself responsible for the opinions or statements contained in the correspondence published in this journal. To the editor of the Moreton Bay Courier. Sir, I observe in your last number that you have favoured your readers with some remarks relative to the ferries and the appropriation of the funds derived from them. I quite agree with you that it is high time we were up and doing in this matter. The wit of man could devise no tax more opposed to common sense and sound policy, or better fitted to retard the progress of a young and struggling community, than the abominable ferry imposition to which you have recently drawn our attention. It is at once a tax upon communication and a direct tax, the most odious and unpopular of all kinds of taxation. Its effect has been, as every one amongst us too well knows, to render the 3 settlements of Kangaroo Point, North Brisbane, and South Brisbane as isolated and as separate in their aims and interests as if they were 10 miles distant from each other, instead of only being separated by the River Brisbane. Cease when it may, its fame must remain as long as the history, the hour true tale of Sir George Gip's misrule and political treachery endures. Our late ruler, while visiting this part of the colony, and prior to the sale of land in what is now South Brisbane, pledged himself to the inhabitants that the ferry should be retained in the hands of the government, a public convenience maintained at the public expense. No sooner, however, did the land bubble burst, the goose die which laid the golden eggs, no sooner were a number of allotments sold on the south bank of the river, than the government put up the ferry to auction to the highest bidder, and a tax was imposed of 2 pence on foot passengers, 6 on horses, and 5 shillings a ton on goods. What will strangers at a distance say when they learn that a resident here, walking from one end of the town to the other, from South Brisbane to Kangaroo Point and back again, must pay a toll of 8 pence, if on horseback, 2 shillings and 8 pence, and for a ton of goods, if taken the same way, £1. Is not this monstrous? Can anything be more unjust? Could anything be devised more suicidal of the very object at which it aims, the creation of revenue? What is the conduct of government? By selling land on both sides of the river,
It splits the town up into sections and creates natural obstacles, and then, yes then, will it be credited? Taxes us for its own stupid and miserable blundering. This is truly a notable way of raising a revenue, and right worthy of the policy of the man with whom it originated. But what is the amount that accrues to the revenue from this source? A paltry £160 or £170 a year. To get at this, the government coolly consents to our being in reality taxed to the tune of about £1,000. The whole matter, absurd though it be, is too serious to be treated with ridicule, and we have borne the infliction so long with murmuring, it is true, that invective would now be out of place. The present government, however, will surely never sanction the perpetuation of any such injustice, if it is rightly represented to them. But if we coolly sit down and pay so iniquitous a tax without marking our disapprobation of it, save by an occasional John Bullish grumble, then of course we have none save ourselves to blame. Our late governor took advantage of our weakness and helplessness. He acted towards us as, I trust, no governor will ever dare to again. Sir Charles Fitzroy, however, is not responsible for the acts of his predecessor, and in representing this grievance to him we shall, I feel convinced, represent it to an impartial third party. Let us, therefore, be up and doing. Let us show that we have not forgotten our rights and privileges as British subjects, rights and privileges inalienable, the birthright of every participant in the benefits of the Constitution. Shall we, because this is a small matter, comparatively, remain spiritless and dead to such barefaced injustice? Or shall we not rather show by our conduct that we are ever ready and prepared to resist oppression, even though that oppression consist in the peddling, narrow-minded, unprincipled extortion of Sir George Gipps? I have heard that a memorial to His Excellency and the Executive Council will obtain all that we desire. I trust that but a short time will elapse before such a document, signed by every man, woman, and child in the place, is forwarded to headquarters. 2d, if you please. Local intelligence. Public meeting. On Thursday, a meeting of the inhabitants of North and South Brisbane took place, pursuant to notice at the Courthouse, North Brisbane, to take into consideration a memorial to His Excellency the Governor respecting the site of a custom house for this district and on other public business. Captain Coley, having been called upon to preside, briefly explained the objects for which they had that day assembled. In the absence of correct information, the government, he said, had intimated through the Colonial Secretary that Brisbane could not long be the commercial town for this important district. This assertion, and the indecision which prevailed on the part of the government, had destroyed confidence and had been the means of checking all attempts at improving and extending the township, for who would build when it was uncertain how long this might remain the shipping port for the district? In his opinion, he had carefully weighed the matter in his mind. It would be the more proper course of proceeding for the inhabitants to petition the executive government at once to erect a custom house at Brisbane, and to retain the other government establishments where they were located at present. It was quite time that the subject now brought before the meeting should be freely discussed, and that they should come to some decision with reference to the proposed new custom house, in order that the opinions of government might be obtained and the question set at rest. for while the present uncertainty prevailed, it was not only productive of the greatest inconveniences to the mercantile classes, but the cause of the present stagnation in business matters. Mr. Richardson said he hoped when the governor was made acquainted with the circumstances under which they were placed, and which were accurately stated in the memorial now submitted to the consideration of the meeting, he would see the injustice of opening a new site for a commercial town, as proposed by the colonial secretary. The governor would, no doubt, pay attention to the representations of the inhabitants, as it was well known from the dignified politeness, liberality, manly sense, and good feeling with which he was in the habit of treating similar applications for redress submitted to him by the colonists, that their case would claim his special attention. He felt thoroughly convinced that His Excellency would not suffer the inhabitants to be injured in the manner proposed, and that he would, after reading the memorial, comply with their wishes. This settlement had now been opened nearly 5 years, and many of the present inhabitants had extended their all in new buildings, and in effecting various improvements in the township, and yet, even before half the land was sold, they were told that a new township would probably be opened at Cleveland Point. If he might be allowed the expression, he would say that if government did open Cleveland Point, they would be acting in the most dishonest manner. 2 persons whom they had induced, on the faith of their representation, to believe that no other place would be opened for location until the whole of the land in Brisbane was disposed of. It would be most cruel for government to induce immigrants to come here and purchase land from them, and then get a new set to oppose them without there being the slightest necessity for such a course. The population was diffused enough already without government attempting to render it more so. He felt quite sure that all present would join hand and heart in supporting the prayer of the memorial to His Excellency the Governor, now submitted to the meeting. The memorial was then read, and the various resolutions, which will be found in our first page, were carried unanimously. There being no other business before the meeting, the chairman vacated his seat and Mr. J. Richardson took his place. Mr. Dowles then proposed a vote of thanks to Captain Coley for his able and impartial conduct as chairman, which was carried by acclamation. 3 cheers were then proposed for His Excellency Sir Charles Augustus Fitzroy, which call was responded to in the most enthusiastic manner, with 1 cheer more. The meeting, which was very respectably attended, then separated. The Scab and Catara Act. In our 4th page will be found an abstract of the Catara and Scab Act, which has recently passed the Legislative Council. Its perusal will remove many unfounded impressions that prevail respecting it amongst some of our readers in the bush. The Cornubia. This steamer arrived at the anchorage under Moreton Island on Thursday evening for the purpose of taking in water. As none of the surveying staff have reached Brisbane since her return, we are unable to furnish anything like an authentic account of their doings while on the northern coast. We believe, however, it has been ascertained that the Boyne disembogues at Port Curtis, which is described as an excellent harbour, quite equal to Port Jackson. The boat belonging to the steamer proceeded about 25 miles up what appeared to be the Boyne, but they did not find any fresh water. The country had evidently been subjected to a severe drought during the last 12 months, and the apparent reservoirs or basins in the rocks were found dried up. It is reported that there is good fresh water at Bustard Bay, but no secure harbour. The steamer was compelled to return in consequence of the coals having been nearly expended, and it is generally supposed that so far as the coast expedition is concerned, very little has been done towards fixing the site of the capital of the new colony. In all probability, nothing definite will be arranged until the return of Captain Perry, who has been ordered most judiciously, as it is now turned out, to trace down the Boyne to its embouchure. The Cornubia is expected to arrive at the government wharf tomorrow. Disputed timber case. At the police office yesterday, Mr. William Hill, cabinet maker, summoned a man named Ferguson for having cedar in his possession, and which was alleged to have been stolen. After the evidence had been taken, Mr. O'Cock, the solicitor, who appeared on behalf of the defendant, contended that no proof had been brought forward that the cedar was stolen. In fact, the complainant himself had admitted that he had lost it in the bay. He, therefore, called upon the bench to dismiss the case. The magistrates decided that the complainant had failed to prove the charge against Ferguson and dismissed it accordingly. Committal. On Saturday last, D.W. Elder, who had been remanded on the day previous, charged with stealing a box of cigars at Ipswich, was again brought before the magistrates, and was informed by them that they had made up their minds to send the case for trial in Sydney. Elder, not being able to procure bail, was placed in the lockup, where he must remain until the arrival of the steamer. Shipping intelligence. Departure. Feb 10. Jane. Schooner. Stickle. For Sydney. Imports. Jane. 1 cask 2 cases wine. Watson. 15 HHDS beer. 5 HHDS bottled beer. Harris. 10 bags salt. 1 keg tobacco. Isaac. 12 bags 1 HHD sugar. Thorn. 5 casks vinegar. Pickering. 2 casks sundries. Hay. Exports. William. 28 logs pine. Welsh. 5 bales wool. Griffin. 49 ditto. Leslie. 13 ditto. Hodgson. 13 ditto Orr. 4.5 ditto Kent. 1/2 bale. 1 bundle skins Sibley. 1 HHD ale Harris. 8 pine logs McConnell. Jane. 6 bales wool Leslie. 40 bales wool Crawford and Hodgson. 26 bales wool Wiggis. 3 bales wool Orr. 1 case Hodgson. 12 casks Harris. Tide table. High water at Government Wharf. Feb 13, Saturday. Morning 9:51, evening 10:13. 14 Sunday. Morning 10:33, evening 10:53. 15 Monday. Morning 11:12, evening 11:30. 16 Tuesday. Morning 11:45, evening 0:15. 17 Wednesday. Morning 0:30, evening 0:46. 18 Thursday. Morning 1:16, evening 1:33. 19 Friday. Morning 1:51, evening 2:10. Notice to correspondence. WAG. A correspondent modestly requests information respecting the best mode of obtaining a berth in some government office, where he would have nothing to do, but where he will be entitled to receive a good round sum in the shape of salary. We have consulted a friend on the subject of his communication, and we both advise him to apply for a situation either in the Brisbane Customs or Police. Should he be successful, his object will have been attained. R. The verses are under consideration. Saturday, February 13, 1847. Illegal detention of property. At the police office yesterday, Mrs. Gage, wife of David Gage, the market gardener, residing at Breakfast Creek, appeared before the magistrates to prefer a complaint against Mr. John Payne, wheelwright of Kangaroo Point, for illegally taking away and detaining a wheel and the linchpins belonging to a cart. The complainant stated that in consequence of a dispute respecting the payment of some work done to the cart by Mr. Payne, he had taken forcible possession of the articles and had removed them to his own premises. Mr. Payne, on being questioned by the police magistrate, and admitted that he had put the horse into the cart himself, but by doing he said he was not aware that he had legally relinquished his lien upon it for the amount of work done. The police magistrate thereupon decided that he had acknowledged the delivery of the cart to the owner, and that he had no right to take forcible possession of the wheel and linchpins in the manner he had done. Mr. Payne, and a great many others like him, had most erroneous notions respecting their power to detain property of this kind, in the way it was done in the present case. It was quite time, however, that such practices should be put a stop to, and he should, by way of example to others, commit Mr. Payne for the offence with which he stood charged, in order that the Attorney-General might deal with it as he thought fit. The bench then desired Mr. Payne to find bail, himself in £40 and 2 sureties in £20 each. Insubordination. At the police office on Tuesday, Lawrence Sullivan and Thomas Reagan, both prisoners of the Crown, were placed at the bar charged with making use of threatening language to Mr. Warner, the surveyor, and with highly improper conduct while on duty at the Logan River. Mr. Warner, having proved his case, the magistrates sentenced the former to 1 month and the latter to 2 months' imprisonment with hard labour in the House of Correction in Sydney. Breaches of the Police Act. On Tuesday, Mr. George Edmonston of North Brisbane appeared before the bench to answer an information which had been filed against him by the Chief Constable for suffering swine to stray in the public streets. There was also another information against him for allowing his horse to rove about the streets, thereby endangering the lives of children playing in the town. Mr. Edmonston said he was prepared to remove the pigs away from the town altogether, and therefore he hoped the bench would not inflict any fine. With regard to the horse, he would also keep him away from the streets and see that in future no further complaint should be made against him on that score. The police magistrate reminded Mr. Edmonston that he would be liable to a fine of £10 if he kept pigs on his premises after 7 days' notice had been given to have them removed. He would not inflict any penalty this time, but for the future all persons would be fined who suffered their pigs and horses to stray in the public streets. A similar information was filed against James Smith and was likewise dismissed, the police magistrate having cautioned him against rendering himself liable to be proceeded against in future. Pensions. The sum of £200 each has been voted by the Legislative Council as a pension to Lady Forbes and Lady Dowling, the widows of the late Chief Justices of the colony. The motion made by Dr. Bland to place a similar sum on the estimates for the widow of the late Mr. Justice Kinchela was, we think, rather ungraciously refused. Sale of wheat. From a notice in the Government Gazette of October 27, we perceive that 3,000 bushels of Valparaiso wheat, being part of the grain stored in the silos at Cockatoo Island, will be sold by auction by Mr. S. Lyons on account of the colonial government in lots of not less than 20, not more than 200 bushels. Sly grog selling beyond the boundaries. We have several times had complaints from stockholders of the injurious consequences resulting from sly grog selling beyond the boundaries. The practice is unfortunately on the increase. We are rather surprised that some of our representatives, most of whom are more or less squatters, have not brought the subject under the notice of the legislature, with the view of providing some remedy for the evil, which is fast growing into a serious practical grievance. It is rather a pity that the stockholders themselves have not brought the nuisance before the council by petition. Provision is about to be made for the establishment of courts of petty sessions beyond the boundaries, and perhaps at the same time some means might have been devised for checking a practice which has already sensibly weakened the security of property in the squatting districts. Maitland Mercury. The following petition against the renewal of transportation is in course of circulation in the Middle District. To the Honourable the Legislative Council of New South Wales. The humble petition of the undersigned, inhabitants of Sydney and other colonists of New South Wales, in public meeting assembled. Sheweth that your petitioners have read a dispatch from the Right Honourable the Secretary of State for the Colonies, from which they learn that Her Majesty's Government proposes to revise the system of transportation to this colony, provided such revival meet the general consent and approval of the colonists. That from the proceedings of your Honourable House, your petitioners learn that a committee has been appointed to consider the said dispatch, and your petitioners, feeling convinced that the introduction of convicts into this colony would be injurious to the morals and destructive of the best interests of the community, wish to express that opinion, and pray that your Honourable House will take such steps as will prevent this colony from being again made a penal settlement. And your petitioners, as in duty bound, will ever pray. A petition in favour of transportation has also, we understand, received numerous signatures. Recurrence to transportation and assignment, under the conditions proposed by Dr. Bland, cannot fail, indeed, to meet the approval of every right-thinking, unprejudiced person in the colony. The State of Van Diemen's Land, from the Times, May 27. We cannot but think Mr. Ewart has been not less injudicious in the management than unfortunate in the fate of his favourite motion. After repeated and voluntary adjournments on days when all the world was bent on business, and the House displayed a full concourse of members, he brings it on at last at a period of customary relaxation, in the midst of a fascinating excitement out of doors, where every man, with the smallest love of gaiety or the least pretension to fashion, a description which, of course, includes the whole House of Commons, except the 27 laborious gentlemen who were counted out last night, is absent far away upon the Epsom Downs. The importance of the subject might have made Mr. Ewart more careful to ensure at least a complement of members, if not full attendance. The House, he knew, is always impatient at the discussion of colonial subjects. The distance of our dependencies is too great to admit of that freshness and novelty in their affairs which are charms essential in the estimation of many honourable members. It is too dull for them to be debating matters which happened so far off. They have plenty of business nearer home, and so poor Van Diemen's Land is left unheeded in her wretchedness, forsaken and treated with contempt, and doomed to flounder on from bad to worse, until she is become a blot and disgrace to the British Empire. For the state of this colony is come to be one involving questions of a graver nature than forms of government, and considerations of a higher character than the maintenance of a system. The island is sunk in an abyss of depravity and abandoned wickedness, too horrible to be described. It is the treatment of the convicts which has done this. It is the natural consequence of herding together, in numbers and in idleness, men whose former lives are evidence of their demoralization, and whose latter condition neither imposes a restraint on bad passions, nor affords assistance to good dispositions. There were in the colony, at the beginning of the present year, 34,000 convicts and 27,000 free persons, showing an excess of the penal population of more than a fourth. These convicts are distributed throughout the island in gangs of 250 to 300 each. Every man must maintain at least a year in one of these gangs, after which period of probation he is entitled to a pass enabling him to seek for labour on his own account anywhere within the island. The same system is pursued with the women, a system most ingeniously adapted to bring about a perfection of wickedness, and to effect an uniformity of vice, by exposing the incipient villain to the instruction and the example of companions more skilful and more hardened than himself, a system which offers to the brutalized ruffian that which alone has charms for his degraded sense, a life of noisy riot, of filth, indecency, and profaneness, a system which absolutely prohibits the reformation of the criminal, and sets a barrier between him and repentance, a system which, in practice, operates as a normal school for the preparation and distribution of accomplished criminals throughout the country, and accredits them with pass tickets as graduates in crime, and competent to teach the honest labourer on every farm, and the honest servant in every house, the last new forms of vice, and the most fashionable schemes of villainy. To these pernicious ends, the adaptation of what is called the convict system is most perfect. It has not reformed, but, on the contrary, monstrously degraded the convict himself. It has not preserved, but, on the contrary, greatly endangered the security of society. It has increased crime by the force of bad example. It has injured the honest and the virtuous by exposing their labour to the competition, and themselves to the contamination, of the vicious and the vile. It has accomplished no great public works, save here and there a road, which might have been more cheaply made by other means. It has effected nothing good, but only that which was foretold by many as its inevitable result, the ruin of Van Diemen's Land. When some 20 years ago the early colonists of Van Diemen's Land accepted as a boon the compulsory labour of a small portion of the convicts of the British Isles, and anticipated from the forced employment of a few additional hands the more speedy development of the resources of their adopted country, they little deemed how terrible an enemy they were inviting into their fields, how dreadful a scourge they were preparing for themselves. It did not occur to their thoughts, for it was not obvious, not even probable to their reason, that in the short space of 20 years the fair island of their hopes would be converted into the dreary prison of their despair. They never dreamed that in 1845 their own numbers would be outnumbered by the convicts, and the brightest prospect open to their view would be that of escape from the land which they had adopted, and in which they thought to end their days in honour and in peace. Such, however, is now the condition of Van Diemen's Land, that none who are not bound to the soil by ties they cannot lose will delay much longer to free themselves from its polluted atmosphere, and from the horrible contamination of crimes without a name. Ferocious Duel in the United States, from the Pictorial Times. The following horrible affair has recently occurred at Richmond in America, and proved fatal to one of the parties soon after the contest. Both were editors of newspapers expressing different opinions. The names were Pleasance and Ritchie. The following are the details. The quarrel had gone on in their newspapers to such an extent that Mr. Pleasance thought himself called upon to bring the matter to a crisis. He therefore sent a request to Mr. Ritchie to meet him at a specified place and hour, across the river from Richmond with side arms. Mr. Ritchie sent word back that he could not consent to settle the affair in that way. Mr. Pleasance then sent him word that the affair must be settled, and in that way. Mr. Ritchie then prepared himself with a revolver of 6 barrels, 2 duelling pistols, and a horseman's short sword, and repaired to the place designated at the time named. Mr. Pleasance arrived with 2 or 4, there is a doubt about this, common pistols, and a sword cane. A friend of Mr. Pleasance approached Mr. Ritchie and said to him that he thought the affair might be settled if the latter would do one thing: acknowledge that he believed Mr. Pleasance to be a brave man. Mr. Ritchie replied that once he could have done this, but now, Mr. Pleasance having called him here, he could not make such acknowledgment. Soon after this, Mr. Pleasance approached Mr. Ritchie, considerably in advance of the 2 friends who had accompanied him to the spot. As he approached at a rapid pace, Mr. Ritchie fired successively his 2 duelling pistols, resting each on his left arm, drawn up in an angle for that purpose. He then presented the revolver and fired either 4 or 5 of its barrels. After he had fired first upon Mr. Pleasance, the latter drew and fired thrice without effect, all the time rushing up to Mr. Ritchie, and when near enough he struck him with his sword cane, when the scabbard flew off, and Mr. Ritchie struck up the blade or spear with his short sword, in doing which he received the point in the corner of his mouth, cutting upwards in a slight gash. Mr. Pleasance then fell, having 5 wounds, 1 ball in the arm, a 4th entered the left groin, and proved mortal. The 5th wound was in the right thigh, either by a ball or thrust from the short sword. So has ended the earthly career of the gifted, the high-minded, the generous, whole-souled John Hampden Pleasance. His loss to the community in which he moved, to the editorial fraternity of which he was ever a sparkling, brilliant member, and to the thousands of his ever delighted and instructed readers, will be most deeply felt, as his sanguinary exit will be sadly mourned. For many years he has been one of the most vigorous, original, and brilliant political writers in the country. He was a man of strong impulses, and, in the excitement of the moment, sometimes committed editorial errors, or did his opponents injustice. But that man lived not who would more readily or amply atone for indiscretions or injuries of this nature. Cute. That's probably all I've got time for of the Moreton Bay Courier tonight. There is, of course, more. But till next time. Yeah, that's enough of that. Yeah. Hopefully that was well and truly sleep-inducing. Lots of shenanigans in around 1846, 1847. It's now reached that time of the night. I'm going to play you just some gentle piano, just to help you drift off to sleep. Just some gentle piano. Thank you everyone for tuning in to AZMR on Zed Digital this evening. Thank you for tuning in, and good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night, everybody. Good night.